Entertaining, informative, and educational. Inspiring content that makes a difference.
This is the Maximus Troy Publications Broadcasting Network.
Join the Academy. This show is brought to you by the Breeders' Academy, where we will help you to increase your knowledge of breeding, advance your skills as a breeder, and help you to improve the quality and performance of your fowl.
As a member, I'll provide you a roadmap that you will need to create a true family or strain. We can help you to turn your flock of hybrid crosses or mongrels into a pure family or strain, and show you how to continually improve that strain each generation. We'll start by showing you how to select your seed fowl and how to turn that seed fowl into a high-quality foundation strain. Our proven breeding programs and specialty courses are designed to take you step by step through the breeding process. And best of all, I'll be there to help you every step of the way.
We urge you to check it out. You have nothing to lose, and you can cancel at any time. Simply go to www.breedersacademy.com to sign up.
The Breeders' Academy will not only change the way you think about breeding, but improve the way you breed your fowl. Okay, welcome to another episode of Bred to Perfection. I'm Kenny Troiano, founder of the Breeders' Academy, and I'm here with my wife Nancy and co-host Frank Bradley. What's going on, guys?
Hey,
how's California?
Well, the weather's good, but maybe I don't want to go there. I'm just glad I live very, very, very south. Okay.
Yeah. Well, my 2 weeks is going on 3 weeks. I've had this virus going around, and then ended up with bronchitis on top of that. And it's not been a fun 3 weeks, I'll tell you that.
No, I've had bronchitis, and you're recovering faster than I did because, like I told you, it took about 5 or 6 months to feel normal again.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, I went 2 weeks. I started to feel a little bit better. Thought I was getting up on the upside of it, and that next couple of days, right back down, I went again. But I should have went to the doctor and got on meds. I just hate taking medication. And the antibiotic to give me, I took about 3 days of that, and I had to quit it. My stomach just can't handle it.
Yeah, Nancy, do you remember why I couldn't take that medication for the bronchitis? I remember I couldn't.
I do not have a clue. It was too long ago, so I don't know.
Okay, hold on a second. I gotta shut the door. I could hear Nancy. Okay. Yeah, because I went to the doctor. I said, this isn't agreeing with me. And he goes, well, that's all we have for that. I go, you have
That's what he
nothing
told me.
else you could give me. He said, this is it. So I had to recover on my own with
Give
no
me
medication.
give me a steroid shot and then give me a steroid pack to take. And Amanda doesn't like to be around me when I'm on those steroids. I'm the grouchiest, grumpy. Plus being sick, I'm grumpy. But yeah, they just, I don't know. They make me feel better, but man, they just make me feel like I've drunk a gallon of coffee.
Yeah. Well, when you told me you were going to come on the show today, I was like, yeah. And I'm like, whoa. So, hey, everybody, we're lucky to have him today because I really didn't think he was going to show up. I didn't think he was going to be well enough to go.
Between that and the weather, we're getting hit hard here with a storm right now, too. Pretty bad.
Yeah. No, the weather's been good here.
I'm telling you, who is it up here? Let me get back to it. I think it's Derek.
What?
I'm here in wet and rainy Western North Carolina.
Yeah.
I told him he needs to build an ark. It's time to build an ark.
Somewhere up north, I think it was, they got like 7 or 8 inches of rain in one day.
Really?
Yeah, it was terrible.
Could
I think it was yesterday, the day before. Was that Oklahoma?
Oklahoma has had a ton of rain.
Nancy, why don't you get closer to your mic? You're not clear.
How's that? Better?
I think so.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Usually I'm too loud. So.
Are you about a fist away? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You sound like you're too far away. Father's Day is just around the corner. I want to wish everybody a Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, because we're not going to be on until next week. Father's Day will be well past by then. And hopefully you guys are going to have a great day with family and your kids. I do want to welcome a lot of new members lately, which I do appreciate. Make sure you check out the Start Here pages. Take some time to get to know the website and the programs and courses. And then after you've been on there for a while, if you need some help, just let me know. I do want you to spend some time on the website before we do a coaching call, though. And for my members, I just posted the next Masters Class video, which is Polygenic Traits and Quantitative Inheritance with Brian Reeder. I've got maybe another half a dozen episodes that we did with Brian that I'll be posting here pretty soon, so check those out. And we're not going to be to let Frank Hill a little more, get a little better. We're going to hold off on the members roundtable and do that next week. Hopefully we'll feel better by then. And this is a good time to join the Breeders' Academy. Once you join, you'll have instant access to the Founders Program, the Masterclass videos, member roundtables, programs and courses. You'll get the complete collection of videos and audios, and you'll get the daily articles. You'll also get expert advice from contributors like Brian Reeder, Peter Brown, and Dr. Gallardo, and we do coaching calls. So make sure you join. Just go to www.breedersacademy.com to subscribe. Hopefully I'll see you there. Okay, this is going to be an interesting show. I'm a little foggy brain today. I made the mistake of taking a little nap before the show, and I'm still groggy, so just hang in there with me. Nancy did the same thing. I'm surprised she's awake enough too.
Can I tell a little story?
Sure.
Like a really, really short story.
It's got to be really short. I mean, like really short.
Shut up. So I've been getting up at 5 o'clock every day because I've been helping a friend with an estate sale. And so I came home today and I went in to take a little nap, and I woke up and I saw that behind the curtains, it was light out. I'm like, holy crap, what time is it? And I look at my phone and it said 4:30. I'm like, it's not that sunny at 4:30 in the morning. And then I'm like, oh my God, there must be something wrong with my phone. I'm late. And I jump out of bed and I open the door, and then I realize, oh, it was just a nap. So stupid.
I've done that before.
I've never done that before. Crazy.
Yeah, get up on a Saturday morning and think, it was a work day, and get ready for work, and realize it's Saturday morning and be like, well, I guess I'm up. I was going to sleep in, but okay.
There you go.
Yeah. This is going to be interesting because it's about outcrossing. It's not something that I want to teach like on the back end to my members, because it's not something I want them to do, but there are some benefits, I guess you could say, but there's a lot of detrimental sides some problematic sides when it comes to outcrossing, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We touch about it, Frank. We touch on it all the time, and
It's that important.
yeah. So, Nancy, you have a question? Because I can see it
do.
flagged there.
Yeah, I do. What is outcrossing, and is it a method or a breeding program? For those that may be new at this.
It's a breeding method, but well, let's put it this way: when you're doing a cross, so you fully understand it, a cross is between two different breeds. Like for us with gamefowl, it would be like American game to a Sil. That would be a cross. Or American game to Peruvian. That would be a cross. If we're breeding to another American game, but a different variety or strain, then that would be an outcross. And if it's the same variety, like a black-breasted red to another black-breasted red outside the family, then that would be a true outcross. And so, and a lot of people do it for various reasons, but the problem is they're doing it to fix problems. They feel like it's the go-to whenever they're having an issue that they want to either fix, or there's an issue that they want to prevent or avoid. They go to outcrossing, Frank.
Yeah, well, today a lot of people, it's not as bad, but back in the older days, it was much, much worse back then. People thought because they took two families that was called the same name and bred them together, they were pure, that it wasn't a cross.
Yeah.
And by layman's term, it is a cross. The name doesn't make it pure unless it's bred correctly. But and still today, you see people doing that. Basically, every bird on their yard is hybrids, crosses, but they see them as a family or pure birds, which isn't even close.
I'd take it a step farther, that it would be good if it was only a cross or an outcross. But I actually think we cross the line into mongrelization, like we talk about from time to time. Is that when you're crossing two animals, and usually, and the ideal is to have two pure families, and then when you cross them together, you get hybridization, and you get a certain amount of hybridization when you're doing outcrossing because the families aren't related. But when you are dealing with family or birds or a group of birds that have multiple lines already in them, and you breed them to another group of birds that have a number of lines in them, we went from hybridization to mongrelization. I know people hate when we say that, but anytime you have a animal or a bird that has it's made up of multiple bloodlines, and you can just look at them, look at the conformation, look at the color. I mean, you don't have to look very far. The proof is right there in front of you. We're dealing with mongrels, so it's what do you do from there? Because I wish it was as simple as the outcross. Now, I would say like a domestic chicken, like a barred rock to another barred rock, chances are if you're not seeing any influence of any other breeds in them, which you usually don't, that's a true outcross. But what we see in American games, I used to say, we're not doing outcrossing like everybody thinks we're doing. We're doing mongrelization, because we have no, I used to say, we're not doing outcrossing, we're doing crossing. Crossing is worse than outcrossing, but we're not even doing crossing. We're doing, like I said, mongrelization.
Yeah. Well, for one, if you're breeding two hybrid birds, two cross birds together, you're only getting a fraction of a hybrid vigor in the offspring. But if you take two true families that's been bred correctly and you put them together, you're going to get the maximum of hybrid vigor that you can get. So there's a way to do a cross and a way not to do a cross, actually.
Yeah. And hybrid vigor is a great thing if you are using it for the right reasons. Okay. But a lot of people think that they can maintain or improve hybrid vigor. Mm-hmm. And it's not like, I feel like a broken record, but I'm always saying it, that it's not inheritable. You can't pass it to the next generation, and it's very temporary. So what they think they're getting, they're not. And so all they're actually getting is a lot of genetic diversity, which they think they want, but I don't think it's what they really want. They really examine what they were doing. So
hey,
go ahead,
I got
Nancy.
a question. So with hybrid vigor, you've got faster grow rates, improved fertility, enhanced disease resistance, increased vitality. So if you're getting all that good stuff, in that case, why do people not just do crosses all the time? Hybrid vigor all the time.
They
They
do.
do, but they're not getting, Nancy, they're not getting true hybrid vigor because of the mongrelization that's going on. They're getting a bump. And because they get a bump, they think they're doing better. But like I said, they're not able to pass those qualities to the next generation. And so when they breed them together or they breed within what they think is a family, they see some kind of uniformity for the first time. Then they breed them again, and then it's unpredictability. You're not getting the uniformity, you're not getting the consistency, you're not getting the repeatability or predictability at that point. You're getting everything under the sun because now you're multiplying the genes. And because the hybrid vigor is only a one-time deal, very temporary, you get the unpredictability you get, Frank, is high, low station, big birds, small birds, conformation out all over the board. You get everything under the sun.
Good, bad, and junk.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, Frank, because you're from Kentucky and they have more land out there than we do here in Southern California. So they can raise more chickens in an area, in a huge meadow. Why wouldn't they just have so many birds and just doing crosses all over the place? What would be the problem with doing that?
Pretty much that's what they do. But here's the thing, Nancy. Every time you make a cross, it's like you take a balloon and say you've got enough water in it the size of a walnut, okay? When you, in a true family, when you make a cross, you've just tuck and put a water hose in that balloon and it inflated it out much bigger than what it is with all those different traits in it, just what Kenny was elaborating on. So you've got some that's tall, some that's short, some that's longer neck, some squirrel tail, some longer neck. You've got different defects. You've got different resistance to sickness. It requires a family, two families that is pure, inbred families, to be able to do it with consistency. Just adding here and adding there. That's the reason people have good chickens today, and they're adding blood to them as they go, breeding hybrids to hybrids, and then what happens? They start going downhill. They're losing their vigor. They're losing all the hybridization that made those birds appeal to them. So what they do, they have to go back and add new blood and start right back over again. So what you're doing, those good birds that you had are technically gone now because you've watered all the traits that made those birds special, gone, never to return.
Yeah. You can minimize the effects of the outcrossing by making sure the birds are really close in traits. Mm-hmm. Okay, but you still are going to lose the hybrid vigor. Okay, you just can't maintain that hybrid vigor generation after generation. It's impossible. Here's the problem. Let's say you have an established family, and this is where I'm concerned with. You have an established family, and you start seeing problems, and you think the only way to fix them or to minimize, let's say, inbreeding depression, because you're fear of that, not that you're seeing it, you feel like you need to add outside blood. And I think this is where Frank was going, and just kind of went in a different direction, is that you're adding a lot of new traits that weren't there, and most of them are recessive or lethal or detrimental or deleterious genes that weren't there before that you won't see for maybe 2 or 3 generations. And so when you every time you bring in new blood, you're bringing new faults. And one of them that I'm always about the genetics that you're bringing in, but Frank always brings up the disease. That's a big one. And again, you won't see that for another couple generations, the effects of the diseases they may be carrying. So every time you bring in new blood, you are running a risk of adding all kinds of genes and faults and, traits and defects that you didn't have before. And frankly, the problem is they think they got away with it the first time, and then it's a few generations down, all these things are come up, and guess what? Not only are they surprised, but they don't even know where it came from at that point.
It's short-lived. It's very short-lived.
Well, the benefits of it, but the defects are coming in vengeance, and they have no idea where that's coming from because they forgot what they did.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because, the thing about it is 2 or 3 years doesn't sound that long, but in breeding, that's a long time. And you're one who's scratching your head. Well, what happened there? Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
They was never this sick before. Why are they sick now? So yeah, you're correct, Kenny. A lot of people doesn't look that aspect as far as going back and looking what they did, because like you said, it's forgotten once they get there. So what they do, they either add blood to them or just scrap them all together. One or the other.
I've seen this a lot in the dog community where they feel like part of their breeding program is to eliminate inbreeding depression, which they rarely ever meet. But part of their breeding program is the outcrossing, because they feel like they need to add new blood into it every now and then to refresh them, to keep them from getting, they're all about the COI, the coefficient of inbreeding. And I'm always like, no, I'm not worried about the COI. I don't care what animal they are. I want to get them as close as I can so that I'm getting that uniformity and that consistency. Even dogs can handle a lot more inbreeding than they think they can. I don't think you should inbreed over and over again every generation, but a certain amount of inbreeding does have to take place. And it's actually very hard to reach inbreeding depression. And so that outcrossing that you think is benefiting you is actually harming you down the road. And I think that's why they get those detrimental defects and those deleterious genes. They start seeing the defects, and then they feel like, well, I messed up. Now I really got to add new blood to fix them. And it's just a hamster wheel that never ends. So,
well, I'll say this. I don't care what you're breeding. Without somewhat of inbreeding, you'll never have a family. I don't care what you're breeding.
Yeah.
Without some sort of inbreeding, you will never ever have a true family, because you have to fix it to where there's not that much diversity in your family, because they're never going to look alike, act alike, be a family without doing some inbreeding.
Yeah. Check on our shows when we talk about meiosis. I mean, I don't want to get all into that if I don't have to, because it does explain why adding new blood is a big mistake, and why it doesn't work like you think it does. And this is a big thing with chickens. They think that inbreeding and bringing families close is like a bad thing, that they need that new blood all the time. And all they're doing is recombinating the genes. They're starting completely over. And I don't know. I think we're getting to some people. I can see a change in the talk. I can see differences in, I don't go on Facebook much anymore, but when I was starting to see the language change. I was starting to see the way people were talking was different. They were starting to lean more towards families and not so much on the crossing. And I definitely see it inside the Breeders' Academy and on the group page for the Breeders' Academy. We're definitely making a difference there. So,
yeah, I'm seeing a big difference in it. The way people talk. Gosh, back when I first got on Facebook, it was awful. I mean, they would attack you just for any little thing now. But people's more open-minded now. I think they've come to the terms they look at science different now. Before it was like all that science don't work. All those breeding methods don't mean nothing. You breed the best of the best, and that's how you get good birds. Breeding best of the best is a spot in a true family, but just not in individuals. It never works that way very long.
My question is, how would they know if they never tried it? Because chances are they've never tried a true breeding program, so they don't know. It's just to me, it goes to. I have a feeling it's more laziness than anything else. They don't want to have to do all that. They like bringing in new blood. They like finding a bird that looks really cool over here and bringing it into theirs. They like starting over. They like experimenting. They do like that. But it's not breeding. If you're outcrossing, crossing, or adding new blood, that's not breeding. That's not creating a strain.
Well, it goes back. You see these guys that get popular on a breed. They've got them. They're good birds. And then 3, 4, 5 years down the road, they're on something else, and those birds are gone. You don't see them anymore. Or they still got the birds, but they're nothing like they were in 3 or 4 years ago. So maintaining a family, it takes work. It takes a lot of work. It's easy to make a cross, just throw 2 birds in. But something that will get you in trouble faster than anything is lazy selection. I see it so often. People just don't take. If it's a hen and a rooster, if they got a clutch of say 5 stags, 5 hens, They breed 5 roosters and 5 hens. They breed everything on their place. They don't select the better birds. And you can't get anywhere if your selection's off. Even in a true family, especially in a true family, if your selection's off, you're never going to get anywhere.
Well, when they're breeding all their birds, there's no selection whatsoever. They're just breeding whatever's available. And I see that a lot, especially when they're hatching a low number of birds. They tend to breed to everything that they produced. Instead of hatching a bunch of birds and selecting the standouts and then moving forward with that. But here's I don't want to say controversial, but it's something to think about because it can go both ways. Is the idea of outcrossing to introduce new traits or traits that are missing? Okay. And I'll have a problem with that, really, if you're sure that the traits are non-existent. But understand that when you do that, you're basically starting over, and that becomes the offspring from that become your new Adam and Eve, and you're completely starting over. You cannot continue with the family when you've brought in outside blood. You started over from that point. So,
and too, Kenny, I think we need to explain to them too the difference in a trait in a true family and a people thinking it's a trait when it's only hybrid vigor.
Oh, yeah.
That I see that more than anything. And they think because the hybrid vigor pushed this trait up, elevated it, that it can be passed on. And that's what we're talking about when we say hybrid vigor can't be passed on to the next generation. It only goes downhill from there, not uphill.
Yeah. Okay. How let me see how I'm going to do this. Because hybrid vigor does make the offspring seem better than the parents. And in a lot of ways they are. But those traits, like when it comes to conformation of body, how do I say? I want to say this in the right way. When you're dealing with monogenic traits, it's a matter of selecting for it or selecting against it, exaggerating or culling it. Okay. Now, traits that are polygenic, which are multi-gene traits that are all about variation and intensity, and which means they're measurable. It's all about selecting to the highest intensity and improve them. Anytime you're messing with the polygenic traits and you're dealing with birds that are completely different from each other, they don't share a lot of the same traits, you're actually destroying those polygenic traits. And those are the form and function traits, the traits that have to do with the production and performance of the bird, but also the conformation of the bird. Anytime you see variation of something, you're dealing with a multi-gene trait. So actually, when it comes to outcrossing, you're ruining a lot of those traits, because no matter if it improved that trait temporarily or it improved that trait through the outcrossing, it's not sustainable. That trait is going to change or disappear as you go. And that's why we have a cleanup process inside the Founders Program, because it takes that cleanup process to I don't want to say exaggerate, but to move some traits forward and to get them to the point when they're sustainable. And I know I'm not using the right word, but they need to be bred multi-generations to the highest intensity to hold on to that trait that you think you see. Okay. And if you breed to the wrong bird, chances are it's going to disappear.
Or be watered down.
Or lose its intensity. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, yeah, the traits you're getting from hybrid vigor, from outcrossing, don't count on them.
That's what I was meaning by short-lived.
Yeah,
those traits, they can be there today, but the next time you make unless you're, now, get this, you can get a cock and hen that expresses the maximum amount of hybrid vigor, okay? Now, what we call a nick. You can breed those birds and keep breeding those birds, but once you go outside of that, those birds are never going to be like they were with those two right there, unless you make them a true family.
Leave Derek's up for a second, but that's why I always say that people who think that refreshing a bloodline by adding new blood, they're misled. They really don't understand how it works. Just go into meiosis and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Meiosis shows you everything you need to know about what happens when you add new blood and how the factors work, whether that trait is held onto or improved or enhanced or refreshed. It just recombinates them and starts over. Okay, through meiosis and the crossover event, you're recombinating the genes. You're creating all new gametes, unique offspring, which are going to be completely different. And you're getting genes from both the mother and the father, depending on how they're matching up as far as monogenic traits, dominant recessive, and polygenic traits, on how they match up, on whether they're going to be passed. And I can guarantee you that every offspring is going to be different from the other. And then that brings the unpredictability and all the variation. And it's a matter of picking the few that you like and then starting a family from that. But to think you're continuing a line, you're not. You just completely screwed them up. They're not going to be what they were before. I hope I made sense. I'm trying to say it as fast as I can because I don't want to spend a lot of time on meiosis if I don't have to, because we've talked about it so much.
One thing I want to say about meiosis. Now, if you look it up inside the academy, it will make sense to you. Now, if you go looking it up on the internet, it's not going to make you're not going to be able to make heads or tails out of it. You're not going to be able to understand it.
Yeah, because it doesn't relate meiosis to breeding like we do. I mean, I took meiosis apart and show you how it affects our breeding, what it does to a pure family when you add new blood to it, what happens to it afterwards. It's not what you think. So anytime someone says I'm refreshing the blood or I've kept them pure for 30 years, I only add new blood 5 or 6 years just to freshen them up. Once you hear that, you know that they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're talking about. Okay. All they did was screw up their family every 5 years. Every time they got them to a point of uniformity, they had new blood and totally screwed them up. Okay. Even if the birds that they matched them up to share a lot of the same traits, there are some traits in there that don't match up. There's some traits in there that are going to eliminate others. There are going to be some traits from the other bird that you brought in. They're going to be now defects that you didn't have before. All the deleterious and all the deleterious genes. I was going to say something else, but all those things are now in there, and they're going to show up eventually. You just added things you didn't want before, and you just changed them completely. And Derek's completely right. Whenever you're going to do an outcross or you're going to add new blood in an established family, never continue with those birds with that family. You got to, at that point, create a whole different line and see how they go. And we call that a subline. And if that family turns out to be really good, running it through something like the Founders Program, because you're basically starting over with that, and they tend to turn out really well generations down. You could add them to your existing family, but my problem is if they're that good, that existing family that's below them is going to bring them down. So you don't want to do that. You tend to, if you create a subline and they tend to be better, a lot of chances are you're going to continue with this line now and maybe abandon the other one, or just keep them completely separate from each other. So a subline becomes a saving grace, because as Frank knows, many times those sublines don't turn out like you think they're going to turn out.
No, it's good to have. If you're adding blood into your main foundation family, you're playing Russian roulette's what you're doing, and it never goes well, ever. But do a subline, that is an insurance policy. That way, if it doesn't work out, no harm, no foul, you can discard them, get rid of them. Hey, if it does turn out and they're halfway good chickens, keep them as a family by themselves.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it. It just is a subline is a great insurance policy.
Now, one of the things I hear all the time is that outcrossing improves health, improves disease resistance,
defects.
Yeah, things like that. It makes them healthier. Well, it may make them healthier if you have a family that's sick because you didn't select them properly and improve them along the way, and you didn't breed towards disease resistance, because disease resistance is a polygenic trait, and you never improve a polygenic trait from outcrossing. So if you're getting a temporary boost in health because of outcrossing, that's all it is temporary, from a family that wasn't well selected and well bred anyways. But if you have a family that's well bred, well selected, you've culled out the sick and defective and substandard birds, and you bred to the healthy birds, then the outcross is not going to improve their health. You okay, Frank? Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. Outcrossing is not going to improve their health, actually. So I actually believe health can be improved within the family through selection and culling. And so I think that's a misnomer. I think that's a mistake, thinking that outcrossing is going to fix a family that's suffering or having health issues. Because when it comes to outcrossing, whatever improvement in health that you got in the offspring is very temporary, because after a couple generations, again, they're going to start reproducing that health problem, which only can be improved through the way we improve, or it can only be improved the way we improve polygenic traits through selection over many generations. It takes time. That's the cool thing about polygenic traits, is that a lot of faults can be fixed over time. It's not a instant cull everything kind of deal. Whereas monogenic traits like dominant recessive, like I said, it's either cull them or select towards them, exaggerate them or eliminate them type of thing, where polygenic traits are different. But the downside is it takes time. You got to be willing to have patience, and it takes time.
Yeah, that's been the age-old game since I've been into this. You'd see breeders, they would breed a lot of crossfowl that they call peer. And then what they would do, their culling methods would be half of them, they go through it and keep the half that was good, or ever how many was good, and then they take the others, and that's the ones they would sell. They'd get rid of. But when you're dealing in a pure family and you're doing that, you've got way less culls than you do making hybrids. You're going to have way more culls and hybrids than you're going to have in a true family. Because once you get them to where they need to be, the percentage goes up on them as far as they're all the same. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you get a dud every once in a while? Yeah, I get them a few, but I don't get as many as I normally did.
Yeah. If you nurture a family and selectively breed them and keep them pure within the family, little by little, they're going to get better. And then when they get better, they are, it's not temporary. What's the word for it? It's more longer lived. Yeah. Okay. You can hold on to that longer. I don't know why I can't find the words today, but whenever you add new blood, everything's temporary. And I'll bet you anything, Frank, that the ones that are doing a lot of outcrossing are also the ones that are medicating all the time too. Yeah. So their results aren't what they think they're getting, and they're being kind of misled, I guess you could say.
A lot of it, that's what it is. Either they've not tried it. You hear the old saying, don't knock it until you try it. A lot of them, they haven't tried it. So if you've not tried anything, how do you know it doesn't work, or it has no clue how to operate it? That's a lot of it, I think. If they knew truly how to work each method in there, it would benefit every breeder that was out there if they would sit down and believe in the process, do it the way that it's written out, and have faith in it. It would be an eye opener. But, like I say, tell everybody, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. That's their birds. It's up to them the path those birds take. So only thing we can do is do our jobs, and if it works out, it works out.
Some people are unteachable, and some just aren't ready. And I never force anything on anybody. If you're listening to me, then I'm assuming that you want to learn. If you're joining the Breeders' Academy, you want to learn what we have to teach. But I never force anything on anybody, because I just know that not everybody's ready to do this. Being a breeder is a lot of work. It's not something that's just going to happen to you. You got to actually do it, and not everybody's willing to do that.
And we're all students for life.
Yeah.
You never quit learning. I don't care how far, I always say it's like a path. We've got some just beginning it. We've got some a quarter way. We've got some half, but none of us is ever going to reach the end. We learn until the day they put us in the ground.
Yeah. You got a couple questions here, Nancy. You want to?
I do. We ready for that? All right. Sure. Here we go.
Okay.
Let me pull them up here.
She wrote a bunch of questions in the outline.
Oh, what are you talking? My questions?
Yeah, I see.
You passed my questions.
Over them. I'm giving you a chance to ask them.
No, you passed my questions a long time ago. It's done.
Okay.
They're cooked. They're overdone. So forget it. But Sonny's got a question here. Considering we got 20 minutes left on the show, but I think we'll be discussing these a bit. I have one normal size over melanized black copper Moran rooster and another rooster with good copper, but very small, smaller than the females, both from the same line. Who would you use?
You know what I would maybe do, Frank, is I'd curate a subline with both.
Try 'em.
That's a
And
good
I would
idea.
I would maintain the color and work on the size with the one family, and I would work on the color and maintain the size. Maintain the size with one. No, wait, yeah, maintain the size of one, improve the color. The other one, I'd maintain the color, improve the size. Did I get that right? And I would try to improve them both, and I'm willing to bet through like Sonny, how much smaller is the one with good color? Is it just a
Size of the
little bit?
hens.
The
Size of the
size of the
hens.
hens?
Mhm.
It may
Smaller than
be.
the hens.
Well, okay. So you breed him to the hen that's the largest, okay, and you just keep breeding the offspring that are the largest, and you'll improve the size and maintain the color.
Well, too, Kenny, I got questions. What time of the year was he hatched out? Was he late hatch, early hatch?
That's true
You
too.
know, it
Yeah.
could be that his
Yeah.
offspring could be regular size. You know, it could just be he was stunted, maybe.
Yeah. So if he's small, not because of genetics, but because of the environment, then it'll show favorable in the offspring. Okay. So that's always a possible. That could be possible. Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas the one that's large and has the wrong color, that bird's showing us everything it has. Okay. So yeah, I think I would breed them both right now and try to improve the size with the one with the good color, and then and then try to breed that one to the biggest hens. And see, okay, let me go here. The colors is going to be a little harder to fix, but it has good size. But the size it's lacking the other one is a polygenic trait, and that always can be improved. It just takes time. Okay, you just got to be willing to take the time to select the offspring that are bigger than the others, and little by little, that line will get bigger and bigger. Okay,
Really
color
good selection too.
Yeah, good selection. So that's where I'd go. I'd probably breed like how off is the color in the large one, and then how off is the size with the other one. But I guess, yeah, the more I think about it, the more I would lean towards the good color and work on size as you go.
Yeah. If it was me, I'd breed both of them because one of them may fix itself. You know, the other one still going to take a while, but the other one could fix itself.
Yeah. So,
but you can get some good offspring with good color out of the one that's small that are at normal size.
But never mix them. Even if you go two different directions, never get to a point when you cross them together. Never.
Because that right there just made diversity for you if you do that.
They're not going to fix each other.
No.
They're not going to complement each other. Okay.
Like the ones with the lady with the white wing feathers.
Oh, geez.
Trying to fix egg color.
I actually do have a question like that here tonight.
Okay.
But not yet. All right. When you're at the dead zone of inbreeding, do you think them birds would throw the most hybrid vigor when crossed with another inbred family?
The more inbred they are, the better hybrid vigor you're going to get.
Yeah. The crosses, the more they're mongrelized, the less hybrid vigor you're going to get. See, that's what we're trying to tell everybody. If you want the maximum hybrid vigor and you want to do a cross right, you do it with two inbred families. You do that, you get the maximum out of them. But with that's the reason they have to add blood to hybrids, because the vigor goes downhill the more they breed them. So therefore they have to add blood into them to freshen them up.
Inbreeding works so well. It improves prepotency. The more inbred that they are, the closer they are, the more homozygous dominant they are, improves prepotency, mitochondrial DNA. And when you breed two families that are that pure and inbred, two separate families, you get the best hybrid vigor.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some, really nice birds. Very nice birds.
Mm-hmm.
Here you go with that white. I looked at some blackbirds back in October. I found some white in the base of the tail of a couple of my older hens. He says it goes away after he rarely sees it. All chicks this year has it.
Wouldn't worry about the chicks. Don't worry about the chicks.
Yeah. How old are the chicks?
If they're mature and they've got white in them, they might as well have a white wing. Okay, that's just how it is. But chicks, even my blacks, when they're chicks, they'll have white all over them. But once they go mature into their adult plumage, no white.
That's true. The chick color doesn't represent the adult plumage.
Right.
But I'll tell you what I did with mine, because there was a time, like in my Sangreal, there was a time I was getting white in them, and I would eliminate the birds with white, and then I'd start seeing white in the baby chicks, and I would eliminate them too, and keep the ones that didn't have it, and I got there faster. So although the chick color does not represent many times the adult plumage, if you have enough chicks to select from, you might want to get rid of those ones that are showing white, and keep the ones that don't. I think it would get you there faster.
Yeah, if the adults are getting white in them.
Yeah. I did get there faster once I did that.
But my brown and reds, when they come out of the egg, they're black and white already before they even get feathers.
Too. My black pearls did the same thing. I even talked to Brian. I said I got, like, they would always have a white feather on each side of the wing. Mm-hmm. And I said, is that an issue? And he goes, no, not at all. Because if you look at the down of the chick, where they're black but they have yellow or white spots, those white feathers are coming out of those white spots, those lighter colored spots. And it disappears when they get older, which they do, and it never shows up again. So,
yeah, just Chris, just give him an idea. I had a pullet, a brown red pullet. She was jet black. She had one, looked like somebody had took a piece of chalk and just put a little speck on her tail feathers, and she was perfect. She was beautiful. And I was like, well, it's not that much. I'll go on and breed her, and I bred her, and the offspring were great. But in that line that I had them in, once I got down 3-4 years, they started getting white wing feathers. They started getting white in their tail. So just if it's just a little speck and it's in adult plumage, it's not going to go away. I promise you that.
That's progressive white when you see that.
Yes.
It could be just a little, like you said, a little blemish in the wing, or it could be a full-on white feather, or it could be a feather that has a little white in it. No. That's progressive white. Get rid of those as fast as you can.
When Kenny was here, I had a real nice straight-headed pullet, or not a pullet. Well, she wasn't a hen. She was about 14, 15 months old. And he goes, Frank, I really like this hen. I go, I'm going to have to color. And he goes, why would you color for her? And I pull her out, and I opened her wing up, and a white feather popped out. And he goes, oh, bummer. So, yeah, she was perfect in every aspect, but she just had that big white wing feather, and I learned my lesson on that with the blacks.
You know what I need to do is put it on the button here for when Brian talks about the detrimental side of progressive white, when he's like, burn it, kill it, get rid of it. It's so funny. I should do that. Whenever we talk about progressive white, I should play that real quick.
Yeah, but Frank, if you hadn't been picking up your birds like you do all the time, you might have missed that.
No, exactly.
No, you got to pick them up again.
You got to
pick them up.
You got to,
especially those little blemishes that you see in the wing. It could be so light too, but that's signs of progressive white. If you don't have to breed to that, don't.
That's the reason I don't like having too many chickens. If I get so many chickens, I can't pick each one of them up at least once a week to check the flesh that they're in and make sure they're healthy and everything's good to go. Then I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. Because if you're not picking your birds up, you're going to run into trouble. One's going to get sick on you, and so
you're not going to know until it's too late.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Knock it in the head before it ever gets there, I say.
Yeah.
So Frank, this one's for you. There's no non-medicated turkey starter on my island. Will 22% game bird crumble work? Can't find the answer on the BA.
Yeah, that would work. Why is he wanting to use medicated for?
Okay.
No, he wants to use non-medicated. He's trying to find non-medicated feeds.
Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. So there's no non-medicated turkey starter.
What if he dilutes it with scratch?
What age bird are we feeding this to? His adult fowl?
It's starter feed. So I'm thinking baby chicks.
Yeah. The 22, it would still work. It would still work. I'll tell you, he's a member, isn't he?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that. He asked me that question. I was going to answer it tonight, but now I don't need to.
Yeah.
You're doing it for me.
If it's got a label on it, I'll get with you inside the academy and let me take a look at it should be fine, but let me look at the label just to make for sure. I don't want to tell you yes, and then you send me the label and then I say differently. But yeah, just send me that label. More likely it'll be fine. You'll be fine with that. But like Kenny said, you can dilute it down if you want to. But for a growing chick, as long as you're under 24% on a chick, I got no problem with it. Just keep them plenty of water. That's the main
For turkey starter, that's actually kind of low, isn't it?
Yeah, usually on your turkey starters, they run up
24 and up, right?
They can go up 30%.
Yeah,
because turkeys are nothing but muscle, really. But if you think about it, gamefowl's the same way. They're just basically like a turkey, like a wild bird, so to speak, with the body that they have, with a muscular body. So, yeah, it should be fine.
The problem I have with outcrossing, I think the most is we're losing our breeds, especially when it comes to the gamefowl breeds, because we have so many different bloodlines, Asil, Peruvian and all that. And they're just mixing the bloods, they're mixing the different color groups, they're mixing the different varieties to the point when you go on, and I haven't been on Facebook in a long time, I'm just so sick of it. You go on Facebook or something, you see all these colors with muddied up plumage. The colors are all wrong. Very seldom do they have it right, or they got the progressive white. Outcrossing is ruining the breeds because they just use it too much.
It can. And what I'm seeing a lot is I want my birds to be strong. I want to be if I tuck them and I turn them into the woods, they could survive. They could live off the land, so to speak, and not die of disease. But the birds of today, they're so medicated. People's medicating them as soon as they come out of the eggs, and it's weakening the breed. The breed's not as strong. Since all the medications and everything, they fill the shelves with all these medications, the birds has got weaker. I was glad to see them take them off the shelf. I really was.
Yeah. No, I think everything we're doing nowadays, how do I say this? I want to say this right. We were cleaning out the shed and I was looking at old magazines. That's all I'm going to say. I was looking at the covers. And the ones that were in the 70s and earlier were actually really nice birds.
And the ones in the 80s and 90s.
The ones in the 80s and up. The 80s were questionable. I was kind of going through them. And the ones that were in the 80s were kind of okay, but the 90s and up and all the way up to the end when they stopped printing the magazine were awful. Not one cover was good.
You know what I think it's for, though, Kenny? Back in the 70s, we had more prone stern breeders that bred to what their eye liked. They bred to one particular bird. And they wasn't just crossing everything together, making mongrels out of them, but they was actually had families back then. Yeah,
and I knew a lot of them that did too. Yeah. A lot of my mentors were all ones who had families. But we talked about time. It's all about the name game, and they played it when we were young too, but they still bred to type. They still bred the birds that match that particular ideal. They're not even doing that today. They're just breeding everything, and they're just adding whatever they can to it, and they're just slapping a name on it. They have no idea what's in it. But I just noticed that inside and the cover of those books, the older, higher up in years that we got, the worse they were getting. I was like, oh my God, I'm throwing these things into the box like this. I'm like, there's not one good picture of a proper American game on those covers. And I know he didn't, I don't want to say his name, the editor, he didn't exactly care what he put on the cover. They just had to pay $2,000 to get
You had the money. It was going on there.
He was going to put it on there, And very seldom did I see a bird like, oh, wow, they're all like crap. You know what I mean? And we're still doing that today. And I think they're actually getting worse. It's like when I crack up when people go, the birds today are much better than they were today. No, they're not. They're just not. I don't believe that.
I don't either. I've said that for a long, long time. The breeders may have got more savvier on, different aspects of the birds, and there's more knowledge out there now. But I think we had the best birds back in the 60s and 70s. I really do.
You really think there's a lot more knowledge out there? Because they're all
playing on the same not knowledge, more articles and what have you.
That's true.
Information. Not
That's true.
Information.
Yeah,
I guess what I'm trying to
that's
say.
true. I just don't think it's great information, you know?
A lot of it's not.
Yeah.
A lot of it's not. A
Yeah.
lot of it is based on wise tales and superstition.
I was going to lay them all out and take a picture of them and show you to them, but we were kind of in a hurry. We were kind of running late.
I've got some somewhere. They're in the. I think they're in the storage building. I've got tons of. I've got one that I keep in here that's a 1986, and I've got the 2000 and is the last year she put an article in the book. What was that? 2012, 13,
Oh no!
something?
Oh no!
Or
No!
18.
I was writing
2018.
18 or 19.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 18. It's 18. The one
I quit right
last
before.
article.
I quit writing for them right before COVID.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah.
Yeah, it's 18.
Once my website started taking off, I was just too busy for it, so I stopped writing for them. You know.
All right. So, how many generations could it take to increase the size of the nuggets?
Okay. Well, that's speculative. First of all, it depends on the quality of the bird. What was he saying that can increase the size of the nuggets? What's the nuggets? Does that sound familiar to you, Frank?
I guess
It's a breed or a variety or whatever. I'm not sure what that is.
I guess he's talking about the breast. I guess I don't know.
Okay. Well, it wouldn't matter. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter the breed, the variety. It doesn't matter what type of the body he's talking about or whatever. It's still the same thing. It depends on the quality of the birds. I'm going to say birds because that's where I'm going to go with it. It depends on the quality of the birds that you're working with and your selection. It could take a while. I would say because it is a polygenic trait. So, it's a Moran. Oh, copper Morans. Oh, I never heard that before. Okay. It's still the same thing. You'll get there if you hatch enough chicks to have a proper selection and find the few that are the best, and you move forward with those, and little by little you'll get there. How long it will take will depend on the quality of the birds that you're working with and where they're at now.
Crossbee's got a good one there.
He's wondering
the egg.
Yeah, he's wondering if the
size.
nuggets mean the eggs, the egg size.
Oh, the same thing.
Yeah.
You still have to find the birds that laid the bigger eggs. But see, with birds like domestic chickens, like the copper Morans, as the hens get older, they typically lay bigger eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, our American games don't really. When the hens get to 2 years old, that's pretty much the size of their egg from the time they die. Yeah. So that's not usually an issue. And if I see a hen at 2 years old that's laying an egg too small, then I would get rid of that. If I have a hen that's laying eggs too big, I'd get rid of that. I would maintain the hens that are laying the proper eggs, size, shape, and strength and weight. I want the hens that lay the best eggs. If I have hens that lay eggs that are too round or too pointy, I get rid of those because those eggs are like the fingerprint of that bird. But domestic chickens, I would guide the size and shape and everything about the egg at a hen that's like 2 or 3 years old. After that, all bets are off because they just typically do lay bigger eggs, weaker eggs as they get older.
The first article I wrote was on egg size, culling starting with the egg. Mm-hmm. And that was right when Facebook was just getting started, just come online. And the people that attacked me over that article, it was crazy. Saying that didn't have a thing to do with the size of the chick or the mature bird, on egg size.
Whenever I got complaints, and even if I do now, I know that I'm hitting a nerve.
Yeah.
I know that I'm on track because to get people that worked up to speak up like that, I know I hit a nerve. And they actually do me a favor. I
don't care what it is. Okay. I don't care what subject you're talking about, whatever. You tell a lie, people's like, whatever. That's a lie. I ain't worried about it. But you give them facts and truth. The truth, the old saying, truth hurts. Yeah. It does. You give them the truth, they don't want to hear the truth. You can lie to them all day and they'll be your friend. But now you tell them the truth, and some of them doesn't handle it very well whatsoever.
Yeah, but you know what, Frank? It plants a seed.
Yeah, it does.
Be thinking about it.
It does.
That's all that matters.
I've had people criticize me and go after me. And then years later, they'd come back And
Agree
all of a
with
sudden
you.
they're all of a sudden on my side. They're members, and they find the Breeders' Academy the best thing they ever did.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just takes some time to
Yeah.
get with the program.
Well, I've done that. I've thought one thing about something, and really, like Nancy said, somebody planted the seed, and then I'd go research it on my own and come find out they were right the whole lot, and I was the one wrong. And eating crow, that's the reason I always make sure if I'm debating with somebody or talking to somebody, I know for a fact what I'm talking about, because there's nothing worse than having to eat crow.
Yeah. I just don't put too much attention to criticizers or people that want to criticize me or whatever. I just don't care. You know what I mean?
I put it out there. If it helps one person, it was worth it. If it helps one person, it's worth it.
I judge my success on how the Breeders' Academy is doing. That's it.
All right. So moving on, we have a correction. The birds with the white in the tail, the hen with white in the tail, was not Christopher's. Just want to let you know. All right. So here's the question.
He's got some nice birds. I knew that.
Yeah. All right. Just because they are very inbred, especially to the point of dead zone, that doesn't mean they are high potency, correct?
No, it has prepotency, good mitochondrial DNA. Selection. You got to find the birds that have it. Okay, It's not guaranteed. Just because they're inbred doesn't mean you automatically get it.
There's a lot of junk out there that's inbred, just as much as they are junk and hybrids.
No, you have to, just because that's why we always say selection is the number one criteria next to the actual breeding program. Because if you can't select, it doesn't matter how good the breeding program is. If you can't properly select, you're not going to gain any progress. You're not going to get any progress. You're not going to get the results you're looking for. So, you got to learn the bird. You got to understand. And that's what I do see all the time from other shows, on social media, that people that should know the bird and should understand the form and structure and the function of the bird know very little about the bird at all. It's amazing how little they actually know, and they act like they do. And I just go, my God, and because they have some authority, people buy what they sell or buy what they're saying, and it just, you would think someone who has that much authority, has been around it that long, should know more about the bird and how it's made up and why it's made up.
They may be going what I brought up to you, Kenny. The first bird they ever fell in love with, the first game bird they ever fell in love with, could have been all wrong. And that set in their mind. And that's what they went for all these years. I really believe that. I believe the first bird that someone interacts with should be a bird of quality.
Yeah.
Looks, rather than something that's off kilter, because that does stick with the person over the years. The bird they fall in love with is the bird that I think they'll breed toward their lifetime, if not great.
That is the scary part, because a lot of the birds are coming up today that people are gravitating towards. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they have Peruvian in them, but they look very much Peruvian. They have the body structure and the conformation of a Peruvian bird. And they're starting to go away. Have you noticed that? They're starting to go away from the asil a little bit. And they're going more towards a Peruvian looking type bird that has a really high station, a small body with a big tail, has a long neck with a snake, like a sparrow's beak, and they're gravitating towards that. And it's so far from what the American game is all about. And if they're not breeding American game, fine, but don't call them American game. Don't use the terms that reference American games in any way, because they're not. You know what I mean? It's like the breeders in the Philippines. I mean, those birds look good. I will admit they look good, but they're not American game. They should actually create their own breed. They could actually have it could be a Philippines type bird. They look good, but they're not American game. They should have their own breed and make those.
I've got one line I call just that I play around with. I call them P-line. I do, because they look like the birds in the Philippines. They're not American game.
They should make them their own.
Yeah.
Because they do come out somewhat uniform. If you see one, you've seen them all, but they're not American.
I know where it's from.
What's that?
I know if I see one of them, I know where it's from. I know it's not from Mexico or the United States. I know exactly where it's from. You can show me a bird from the Philippines, and I can tell you it's the Philippines.
And they've selectively bred them that way. They bred them for the higher station and the smaller body, and there's actually smaller birds. They ought to make them their own breed. The breed of, that should be the origin of that breed. Just get rid of that Hatch and Kelso stuff, come up with their own names, make it a Filipino type breed, and make it separate from the American games, because they're not American games anymore. They're
And
not
those
at all.
Peruvians, those things are like turkeys, man. They go up 10, 12, 11, big birds.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the size of the bird. I'm just talking about the type of
Oh
the bird.
yeah, but I'm just saying, going back to the Peruvian, they're well above. They're like 3 or 4 American games in one. They're huge.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, would they be good meat birds?
Probably not.
Yeah,
too muscular.
Tough.
Too muscular. Okay.
So anything else, Nancy?
Yes. How are your hens doing? Okay, when you have hens with chicks, Kenny and Frank, how are your hens doing? He's got his are knocking over the feed, the water cups.
That's a
they're
selection.
knocking them out of your hand. They are cranky. They're very grumpy.
Yeah.
There's
That's
pain in the butt.
Yeah.
All my hens, I can reach in, grab a bitty, get the water feed, don't have to worry about it. Now, sometimes if a chick hollers or something, they'll get a little, may run at me or something, but not act crazy. A pullet can be bad for that. And then when she matures, she's not as bad. But that can be a selection as well. Those crazy hens, even mommy hens, you can get man fighters out of them even.
I'll say this, and it's not all my hens, but every now and then I have a hen that will be a little ornery right when the chicks hatch. But after a couple of days, she settles down. There's no problem.
Yeah. Now,
I had one hen that was a spaz, and not spaz, but she was way overprotective. And remember when you were here, there was some of them running around.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one was really nice. I caught her up, and I kind of let her run around for years. And I finally caught her up. I put her in the pen, bred her. And I've never seen a hen so overprotective of her chicks as I saw this one. Like you would see in the wild. It was really strange. It was I kind of held on to her for about 2 weeks because I was kind of watching it, keeping an eye on it. But she was making the chicks spastic. They were like, I go, this ain't gonna work. So I opened the door and let her out. Matter of fact, when I went out of town, Nancy's like, she calls me up, she goes, Kenny, there's a hen with chicks out. I forgot to tell her. I go, no, just leave her alone, let her do her thing, So, but I knew I wasn't going to keep her in those chicks because she'd made spazzes out of those chicks because of the way she was, and that was all because she was wild. I let her go too long, and when she was so wild, it didn't go away.
That's the reason the pullets like that. They're used to free ranging. They still got the wild streak in them, But even with those, I used a bunch of pullets this year, and if I wasn't sure about them, I had these little grabbers I used to pick up eggs with, like things you use. I don't know what to call them, but get things down off high shelves.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's got 2 little suction cups. So it's great for picking eggs up. And I would just open the door very slow. Don't do nothing fast. Reach in and pull the feed over, fix the feed, set it to the side, get the waterer, do the waterer, set it in. They don't see that as an extension of your hand. And then after a week or so doing that, I could just reach in and get the feed and the water, and she was fine with it once she got used to that routine.
Yeah. When I let the pullets run around and I pen them up, when I'm going into the pens in and out to do the water and collect the eggs and feed them, they are kind of high. They seem a little high strung, a little scared. Okay. But they do settle down after a week or two. Then they're like, I can walk in and out. There's no big deal. I mean, I can't just reach down and pick my birds up, but they don't flip out. They just walk around me. They just, if I try to go after them into a corner, they'll flip out. But if I'm just walking normal, they just kind of move like out of my way kind of thing. But at first, when I put the pullets into the pens, they are a little off. And every time I do it, I'm like, oh, I hope they calm down. They always do.
But Kenny's right though. A hen of that nature will destroy those chicks. They'll be just like she is.
Yep.
Every one of them.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this though: if you have them in a good size pen where they can get away from you while you're feeding and changing the water and stuff like that, Wouldn't that be better? I mean, if you have them in a small pen, of course she's going to
Yeah.
freak out.
In a perfect world, yeah, that would work.
Well, that's why a lot of my pens are 6x12, because
Yeah.
the ones that are 6x6 out there, whether it's the cock or the hen, it's hard to go in there because it's so tight. It flips them out. I'm too close to them. But with the bigger pens, like I said, I can do whatever I need to do. Walk in there, do what I need to do. There's no problem. So yeah, the bigger the pen, the better. You need to give them their space. They need their space.
Yeah.
If you violate their space, they're gonna not like that.
Well, if they're in too small of a space, they're going to start cannibalism, picking on each other, and you know, just it don't work out good. Now I've got like a 3x3 broody home with wire in the bottom of it. I put them in there the first week when they're, you know, fresh hatchlings, but after that week, I move them out into bigger pens.
Yeah.
All right. Do you know if quail chicks can eat ground up chick starter feed?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hell, I feed my baby chicks pellets sometimes. They eat that fine, you know. So
I have raised, now I swear to this, I don't do it all the time, but if I have a last few clutches and I run out of chick starter, and I'm like, I'm not going to fool it. I'll just feed them my yard feed, and they do fine on it. It amazes you what a chick can swallow whole, because you got to remember, they don't chew it up or anything. They'll swallow a large piece, and then the gizzard does the rest of it. So a lot of people says, oh, that's too big. Chicks can't eat it. It's got to be smaller than that. I've seen them eat some pretty good sized feed.
Yeah.
Which I only use a 2 mil pellet. So that's the reason I use that 2 mil pellet, where it's smaller. They can actually eat it.
Yeah. I had no problem with that.
Nope.
Okay, this is what Derek does. This is his trick. I think the feeder can play a role in it. I like to feed the chicks and leave feed in the cup in my hand, or my hand near the feed cup, and they get used to it and they'll eat right out of my hand.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just really, it's about not making real fast moves or getting that hen excited or making the biddies sound distressed. That's the biggest thing right there. Once they learn, like Kenny said a minute ago, about a week, they'll settle down and they'll get to it. You just can't, be a swatting at them and hitting at them, and that just makes it worse.
It's like a cock. You go in there and pick a cock. You go in there and pick him up for the first time, and he's kind of fidgety and not wanting to be picked up. You go in there every day, pick him up. You're gentle with him. You give him trust. It's like he doesn't mind it after a while. I'm not saying he looks forward to it, but he doesn't fight it, and he's good with it.
Usually, if he's bred right and he's not got the man fighter gene in him, usually you can take a rooster that's really wild, high strung, and you can take him in 2 or 3 weeks. He's the biggest pet ever was, just by picking him up every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Last one for us, guys. How's the gene shopping program going, Kenny?
I haven't been working on it lately, but it's in the works. I'm trying to get Brian Reeder's videos out, and that one, after I get Brian's out, I'm going to work on the improvement through reduction program and the gene shopping program. And then those are the programs I'm working on right now. But I do want to get Brian's out, and the reason I want to get Brian's out, because him and I are planning on getting together soon and doing some more, and there's a chance he may come on the show and do a Q&A. So I'm lining up Brian to come on. I'm lining up Dr. Gallardo to come on. Peter Brown's planning on coming on pretty soon. So I'm lining up some guests. They've all contacted me and let me know they want to come on, and they're always welcome to come on. All of them, all those guys. Yeah. So, no, I'm not, who asked that? Was it, Spaghetti or something like that?
Yes.
I got a coaching call. Hey, by the way, I think his name's Joshua. If I'm wrong, I'm so sorry. I don't know if I contacted him yet, but I thought we had a coaching call Wednesday. And I sat here for a while, and he didn't show up. And I told Nancy, I go, darn, he didn't show up. And then I went back the next day and looked at it. I go, oh, he's not on for another couple weeks. So Josh.
I've done that before.
I'm
I've
oh
done
my
that before.
God. I think I wrote him. I told him I'm sorry. It was my fault. So no, we're still on schedule. I totally messed that one up. But what I was going to tell Josh is the video we did on gene shopping is actually pretty good. It says mostly what we need to say. The only thing I'm going to do is put it in written form and lay it out as a program. But the video that we did is actually really good. And there is a chance that once I get the program written out and put together all the I want to say graphs and banners, but we did a lot of the banners on that video. But once I get all that done, we may shoot it again. We may go and record it again one more time. But the video is pretty good, actually. So I think it says mostly what it needs to say.
And it helps you go through the program better, faster, easier, more enjoyable too.
Yeah. And I did talk to Brian about it. So the video I did with him will go on there. I'll be posting it out pretty soon too, because he had him and I talked about it for a while, about the gene shopping program. So that'll be out pretty soon. I think we did 2 videos on that.
All right. Sounds good. So I hope you all enjoyed the show today. Also, Joshua says, have a great weekend, y'all, and happy Father's Day. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
All you guys out there, have a good time. And that's all, folks. Yeah.
Okay. I thought Nancy would cut off earlier. I'll tell you why. Because she's doing a lot of the editing now. And these things some of them are a little long. She goes, we're not doing any shows longer than an hour anymore. Now that she's doing all the editing. So I was expecting her to cut it short for us.
Yeah.
No, well, I'm loyal to the chat room. They have a question. I'm going to start it, and I'm going to try and get it all in. So, yeah.
And one thing I want to let the members know, Kenny brought up the coaching call. If I had a coaching call set with you and I had to cancel last week, I'll get with you this Monday and we'll get it rescheduled, set back up. And I'll try to get you in a little bit faster where it won't be such a long wait.
Okay.
Right. We've got one last request. I'd like the confirmation video you did at Frank's. Could we get more into angles of wings and bodies?
Yeah, I do. I need to do. We
Kenny,
did a video on confirmation, though.
Do you have the type blackouts you still got those in there, don't you?
The what?
The ones that Amanda done, the blackouts for the type of the bird?
I don't know if I put those on there yet or not.
And
I made some too. So I do need to add those.
One of them was Kenny's bird, but he put it down, so he might not want to put it on there. I had Amanda do one of his birds, black it out. I sent it to him. I said, what do you think, Kenny? And Kenny goes, well, the wing could be a little bit farther down and this and that. And I said, okay, all right. You do realize that's your bird. And he goes, really? Is that my bird? I said, leave it to Kenny to put his own bird down.
We should do another confirmation show. I don't mind doing them. Those are fun, but we did. Yeah. There is a great chapter on confirmation. We've done a couple shows on confirmation. I think we did a masterclass video on confirmation.
Yeah, we did.
So, I can add it to the schedule. We could do another one, and I can add pictures to it and do a classic master's class video type show for the members in the back end. Yeah, we could do that. So
you guys are so spoiled. I'm telling you. And I'm not talking about Kenny and Frank. I'm talking about our members. I love it.
I just wish I could get to the projects fast enough. It's not like I'm not working. I'm working hard. I'm doing something all the time. We just got so many projects. I say it all the time. If you saw my list of things I want to do or need to do, when I'm done with this, the website's going to be, I think it's awesome right now, but this website's going to be awesome when I get these done. It'd be exciting. But I just keep getting more and more stuff.
That's good, though.
If you take everyday life and living out of it, it's still a lot of work. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What's that? Nancy?
Oh, it just thank you for working so hard, Kenny. And yes, and thank you guys and Nancy. So there you go.
Okay.
All right.
So
let's go.
Yeah. I'm adding to her editing. So Frank, tell me about she's gonna get pissed at me in a minute.
Did you not see my t-shirt? Retired.
I'll tell you, I gotta say this, and you can cut this out if you want, Nancy. I knew this would happen. One way of improving your recording and how you do it and how you speak is start editing.
Yeah,
because she's now saying after every show she goes, "Oh, I can't believe I said that. Now I got to edit that out."
Wait, give her a couple editing, Skinny, and she'll be going and that. Oh, wait a minute, and she'll be saying things over again
like I do.
Yeah,
take two.
Yeah, because you'll hear me mess it up, and then I'll pause, and then I'll say it again because in my mind I'm just going to cut that out. Yeah. So yeah, okay. Anyway,
well, I'll let you know the audio version of our shows are so much better than this. So
oh yeah, the audio,
make sure you catch
podcast
those
side, the audio version of all our shows are much better.
Sound right.
And the members version of these shows in the website is better too, because I take all the extra stuff, all the promotional, all the advertisement out of it. All you get is the really good stuff. So that's the benefit of being a member. Thanks, Frank. I really appreciate you coming on. I know you're fighting something, and I appreciate that you bared through it and joined us. Nancy, thank you. And thank you all for joining us, asking your questions, making your comments. It's you that makes this thing work. So I appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week.
Happy holidays, guys.
Bye.